Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on our video. It means a lot. You guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And today, the season's over. I mean, it's in the rear view mirror, so I feel like it's time to do a player ranking. So what I'm going to do is take the 18 people from this season, and I'm going to rate them as I feel their capability goes as a player. So again, this is I'm just being very, very clear. This is not ranking their games from the season. This is saying if you put these people in a simulation where they played 1,000 Survivor seasons, how many seasons does the number 1 win, number 2 win, number 3 win? And basically how it's going to work is that number 18 is the person who I feel like would win the least amount of times. Basically the worst player of Survivor, not the player who played the worst game on Survivor 41, but this is the worst player for me. The player who I feel like has the least strategical, social, and physical ability. Combine all of that. Again, this is not ranking their games from 41, and also these are opinions. If you don't know what an opinion is, I would suggest looking it up. You're not, it's okay. I know it's just so hard sometimes for people to hear something that that they don't agree with and not freak out. But yes, I may disagree with you. I know it's so crazy, and it's just, don't hyperventilate. I may disagree with you. There's no need to tell me to kill myself. In fact, actually, please go tell me to kill myself in the comments, because that's going to help me with the algorithm with this video getting more and more viewers. So actually, please, if you feel like that, go down and say it. No, and all jokes aside, let's get into it. This is the player ranking of Survivor 41. I know a lot of you thought that I would do my Survivor 41 rant video today, but instead I'm actually going to drop that next Monday, because I was just so excited to get this video out that I wanted to do it today. So I'm filming this on Friday. It should come out on Friday, and hopefully it does good. And so let's do number 18, and let's go up to 1. So at number 18, the player who I feel like wins the least amount of times if they play the game 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times, I think the worst player on this season is Sarah. I have Sarah here because I feel like it's between her and the 17. I think that number 17 for me at least had just a bad rap where they just didn't fit into their tribe. I think Sarah here at 18 for me is a player who genuinely was in a good spot, made a good relationship with Ricard, and I believe it was Shan early on, where it was Sarah, Ricard, and Shan were the tight power 3 on that tribe for at least like that day 1 and like day 2 part. But then she fell out during day 3, and she kind of lost Shan's trust. She needed to make sure that Shan and JD didn't get as close as they did. And really, more importantly, if Shan and JD are going to get super close, she needed to solidify her bond with Ricard, so that now it's Shan and JD, Ricard and Sarah, 2 pairs get together and vote out Jeannie or Brad. But instead, she didn't, and she ended up being like the player that kind of got left out. Like Brad and Jeannie's paired up. Ricard was just kind of connected, and obviously ended up playing a very, very, very good game. And then Shan and JD were kind of a pair at that point, and she was kind of left out there, which to me shows her lack of social ability. And I just generally think that she was set up in a better spot than Abraham was, and so that's why I have Sarah 18 and I have Abraham at 17. I feel like Abraham for me is someone who, although he was set up in a bad spot, he did not help himself at all. He went super old school, which is not really the way to go when you're not in old school. I mean, Abraham should know that he's not on a season where they're all just going to vote out the weak woman. That's not going to happen. And I think when Abraham got on a tribe with Evie and Liana, 2 very, very let's just say pro women, and then Tiffany, someone who, if you're gonna say vote out weak players and you're saying let's go for Tiffany, why would Evie and Liana vote with you? Because then they're next. It was a bad read on his part, and he should have tried to bond with the 2 guys and then pull in Evie and say, well, we're just the majority, let's vote out a Tiffany or a Liana, instead of making it about, well, you're the weakest right now, so you'll go, and the next it'll be the second weakest person. that's not a good way to approach his tribe. And I think really in this spot, it shows Abraham's lack of social awareness. So for Sarah, it was the lack of ability to maneuver her way into a power spot. Whereas in Abraham, although he was set up much worse than Sarah, he did also have a lack of social awareness. So we do have our basically the first boots from the season in the bottom two spots. I think the worst players on the season overall did go first, which I do like. The third is someone who went home a lot later, and at 16, I have Jeannie. I think Jeannie is somebody who should not have made it as far as she did, and she really only did so because there were people like Brad and JD who just put targets on themselves, and who had made vital mistakes in the game, specifically with Shan, and it really delayed her boot. But she had no chance to break up the Shan and Ricard alliance, nor did she really try to. And really, what puts her below, all of these people that are in the pre-merge for me that are left, is the fact that she was able to find the idol. She would have had a chance to have it and play it, but then she leaves it there, tells Shan about it, and doesn't expect Shannon and Ricard to take it. Like, that's silly to me. Why in the world would you then tell them not only about the advantage, then show them where it is, and then leave it there? Terrible idea. Next up, I have Voce. So I tried to delay Voce as much as I could because I do feel like he's a player that could go super far on like very specific tailored type of seasons. I feel like he could play like that Russell Hantz or that Tony Velachos game. The issue is that that's not a very consistent game, and that there's a reason why Kagiyan was so fun to watch, because players like Tony always go out at the merge or just pre-merge because their tribe is smart. And so I think Voce, not only does he go out even if he's not in this minority, but I think Voce and Xander really for voting out Abraham, or at least agreeing to, is so silly. I think if anything, even if the vote ends up 2-3, at least you tried to keep your male majority, knowing that these three women were going to stick together. I think that I really credit that to Evie for convincing Voce and Xander that after they vote out Abraham, that Evie, Voce, and Xander would all get together and be a majority. But obviously they got duped, and the only reason why Xander isn't down here with all of these people is because obviously Xander makes it much farther, makes plenty more moves. Although I will say that that's definitely Xander's biggest flaw, in my opinion, is his Final Four decision for sure. And then second is the fact that he was going to go home if they lost one more challenge. At 14, I have Brad. I think Brad is someone who was set up well. I'll put him over a lot of these people because of his ability to find advantages, one, and two, his ability to kind of fly under the radar. And the only reason that he goes is because he puffs up his target level so much by showing Shan all of these advantages. And I understand that he thought that Shan was his number one, but even with your number one, you don't show someone who you really don't even know at that point, and is super close to JD and Ricard. That's a three that could vote you out, and that's exactly what happened. That three voted him out very quickly after they figured out that he did in fact have all of that power. He trusted the wrong person, and he didn't even really have a chance after he told Shan that. And that does it for all of our pre-merge boots. Obviously, this is kind of a different section of the list. Actually, no, we have one more pre-merge boot and JD, and we'll see where he ends up. Again, I'm ranking this off of them as players. I think if you play out all types of different types of seasons with different types of twists and different types of starting tribes and types of casts, I think as the only constant in these quote unquote simulations is the modern gameplay aspect. Aside from that, pretty much I feel like if you played 41 over and over again, who would consistently be just a better player overall, that's how I'm doing this list. So for those of you saying why is JD above 13 and even farther beyond, that's why. It's because I'm ranking based off their ability to be able to play the game consistently well season after season, just based off how they were as a player going into the game. Obviously, I'm not talking about them after they got out and were able to watch the show. So let's get to my number 13 in Heather. Heather, for me, is somebody who I only saved her for here is because she made the merge, and not only that, but she gets so far that I feel like it would be disrespectful to put like a Brad ahead of her, because she literally makes it to 4. And if she gets to the end, she gets a vote. So, like, I mean, that's I mean, you cannot put her below Brad. Although I think that she's she's a bad player. I feel like the post-merge here deserve to be separate. Aside from JD, I think everyone but JD in the pre-merge probably goes pre-merge a lot of times out of a million or 1,000, just based off their gameplay styles and how it fit for this season. And so I do have to put Heather here, but I tried to wait as long as I could before it just became very, very obvious. The next person that I have here at 12 is Sydney. Sydney is exactly where she got voted out at. I think it's fitting. I think that's exactly the caliber player that she is. I don't think that she was winning against many people. I think that her snarky attitude rubbed off on the players the wrong way, similarly to how the players in the pre-merge did not like Ricard. And yeah, I think overall she does make it this far, one, because she made it to the merge, and two, because she does set herself up where it made no sense for Deshawn and Danny to flip on her. They should have just, voted out like an Erica, or hold on, no, but who's vulnerable in that group? So in the group that Sydney was in that got screwed by the hourglass, it was Deshawn, Danny, it was Ricard, it was Evie, and then it was Sydney. They should have just gone for Evie there. I don't know why they needed to. Oh no, because Evie was immune then. And that does leave Ricard, but then he wins immunity there. I feel like I'm forgetting one person, and whoever that one person is, they should have gone for. Sydney was their power trio that they could have gone deep into the to the game with, and even if they had to cut her, at least you cut her at 7 or something instead of cutting a Liana or something like that. I feel like keeping that power trio was beneficial for Deshawn and Danny's game, and so in a perfect world, Sydney does make it a lot farther, and so I can give that to Sydney. Although I feel like overall I can't put her any higher because I really don't see many paths for her to win. I think she loses to Danny if they go to a Deshawn, Danny, and Sydney final tribal, and I don't think they're going to make it there together. So that's just my personal opinion. At number 11, I think now, like I had said, there's like two tiers of this, pre and post merge, but I feel like now we're getting to a point where these are players who are like I genuinely am confident in. And this really starts with Liana. I feel like Liana is the first person here. She is the worst out of all of the decent players on the season. Obviously, she has the terrible misplay in which she knows. Well, no, she doesn't. No, hold on. It's okay. I think Liana knows that they know about her advantage. So why would you then take Xander's idol after he told you about it? So if you know that Xander knows about your advantage, and then Xander told you about the idol, don't you think that he's going to put 2 and 2 together and play, and swap out the idol? I feel like that's not smart. In my personal opinion, I think on top of that, she had several places where she could have played a situation better. I think the way that she got mad at Deshawn and Danny after Shan got voted out was silly. I think just aligning herself with Shan in the first place is fine, but then doing it when you know that Shan's about to get blindsided because quote it's beyond the game for me is and it's an emotional misstep. I think I understand certain things being beyond the game, but I feel like aligning with Shan and basically sealing your fate there is not beyond the game there, and so that's just my personal opinion. But I do like the fact that she did flip on her tribe there because the Yase's obviously we're not going anywhere, and I think good on her for being the last Yase left besides Xander. And I think overall it worked out for her, flipping on her tribe. I feel like if she stays with them, it's a really, really hard path to the end, and I think even then she could get booted out at fire, maybe at 4, because I feel like Evie and Xander are better fire makers, and whoever wins out of Evie and Xander at the Final Four immunity there, if all Yases get to the 4, they probably take Tiffany and put the other big target against Liana in fire making, where they beat Liana. So I feel like Liana could not get to the end, even if the dream Yase 4 Final Four happened. I feel like that's just not a scenario in which she wins. So I think it was good on her to flip. I think her skin color worked for her in the season, which I can't really fault her for. She used it to her advantage there. And that's just my personal opinion on Liana. Next person we have is Tiffany. For me, Tiffany is somebody who I played better than Heather. She's, they're in a similar archetype. I think the difference is that Tiffany should not have gone home at the spot that she did. it was a very weird vote. It was very like snipey. Like it felt like she was just kind of like a snipe vote where they just didn't know what to do. Heather had just freaked out at tribal. They should have voted out Heather there. I mean, in my personal opinion, Heather or Erica there are the better boots because they're not connected to you, and there's a possibility that they end up flipping to Ricard's, Shan's, or the Yase's, and then all of a sudden it's like your Liana's, Shan's, Deshawn and Danny versus everybody else because Erica and Heather flip, and that's what ends up happening on a lesser scale at the end when the Ricard, Xander, Erica, and Heather four basically run the last three rounds of the game. And so I definitely think that they got what was coming at them for voting out Tiffany there. And so I'm a big fan of, if you went home but it was a bad move for everybody else, like you going home almost caused like a kamikaze where as soon as they voted you out, they made the wrong decision. If you get voted out in that spot, I'm much more proud of you than someone who it made sense to get them out in that spot. Usually, obviously there's always exceptions to the rule, in my personal opinion. At number 9 here, I have Nasir. There's not really much to say about Nasir. I feel like he kind of just slips in this spot. I really don't think his game's that impressive, but he does find an idol, and he doesn't really do anything actively bad, which already puts him above the likes of Sydney, Liana, Tiffany. And so I feel like he kind of slips right here. I feel like this is his spot to just kind of chill out. At number 8, this is the one that I'm going to do maybe a good amount of explaining on, and that's JD. I feel like for me, JD is someone who I think he just misplayed his relationship with Shan. I feel like it was in Shan's benefit to probably keep JD around. I don't think that JD flips on him with their whole brother sister thing. I feel like, so in the end, I do feel like it was in Shan's best interest to take JD to the merge, and if she does, then I think if she keeps JD over Genie, I think they probably don't lose that last round, and now the Yase's probably vote out Xander, and so now Xander's out one. You have 3 Yase's who probably team up with the other half of the Cookout Alliance in Liana, Deshawn, and Danny. And now you have Liana, Deshawn, Danny, Ricard, and JD and Shan. That's what 3 plus the 3. That's 6 people at the merge of 12 that's already running the show. Well, no, after the split up, that's a merge of 11. So now you really have 6 people in a tribe of 11 who run the entire game there. Even if they want to flip on each other, they still kind of have the majority after a few votes. And so I feel like it was in Shan's best interest to take JD to the merge. And so for that reason, I feel like overall JD's personality, his social butterflyness, if that even makes any sense to me, it shows that he has a lot of potential in the game. And so I do have to give JD tons of credit here at number 8. At number 7, I have Danny. I feel like, again, I really don't have much to say about Danny. I have Deshawn a bit higher, and I feel like out of the 6 that I have left, which I believe is the final 5 minus the final 6 minus Heather and plus Evie and Shan. That's who I have left in this top 6 after Danny, because Danny's at 7. I feel like Danny here just kind of doesn't fit with the rest of these people. I feel like as a player, Danny is fine if he could tweak his game and be more strategically in the game. I feel like it benefits him, but it also hurts him because I feel like he made it that far by not really playing the game that hard. So I feel like Danny's kind of a double-edged sword here, where I feel like either way he goes, he's kind of screwed. I feel like this was probably his better option, and just try and get to the end and win based off likability. He just failed at that. At number 6, I have the winner of the season in Erica. I feel like for me, and this is in no specific order, but Shan, Deshawn, Evie, Ricard, and Xander, those 5 are better players overall. If you had played this season out 100 times, I feel like Shan, Evie, Deshawn, Ricard, and Xander always win this season by miles more than Erica does, and not in votes. I'm talking about like more times. I feel like she's not as good of a player as those 5 that I just talked about, and although she outplayed those 5 in this specific run of the season, I feel like overall she does get lucky. One, in the fact that Nasir's a beast and he ruins the challenge throw, so she really should have gone out probably I think it's episode 4 is when that happens. And then obviously with the hourglass twist, which if she doesn't get that, she definitely goes home. We saw at least 11 people say we need to vote Erica here, and so that's Erica going. And then with the pool being even lessened, if she doesn't flip the or if she doesn't get that twist, now it's her out of only like 5 or 6 people. She definitely goes home there. So that's 2 times that she basically gets saved by circumstances that are completely out of her control. 1 being Nasir and 2 being production. And so that's just my personal opinion, is that she does land here at number 6. Number 5, I have Xander. I feel like Xander, to me, there are times in this season where I feel like he plays under himself. For an example, I think his voting out Abraham, terrible move. I think his taking Erica to final 3 instead of at least trying to put maybe like a Deshawn or a Heather against Erica, terrible decision. Especially after he even saw that Erica was bad at fire. Like, I could understand if he just got duped because he thought that she was good at fire on XL, which was the case. But then I would understand if he then took that knowledge of seeing her do fire there and then said, no, I'm going to put her against Erica, or even better, I'm going to take her on fire. I feel like those were his 2 options there, and that's really what keeps him out of this top 4, because I feel like although he beats Deshawn specifically, I feel like Deshawn does go above him, and that's why I have Deshawn at number 4. I feel like Deshawn to me is someone who played on the top this entire season, and although he had a pretty bad jury management, I think honestly he didn't have the worst final tribal ever, which I'm actually surprised. I thought he was going to absolutely bomb and be like Sherry bad, but he was fine. I feel like the jury tried to really dig into him, and we probably saw less of what actually happened. But yeah, I feel like Deshawn overall to me is someone who plays from the top, executes, or is a big part of the Shannon blind side. The Sydney vote, I think, was all his vote, and I feel like that was him making a bad situation of Liana failing in her move into a not catastrophic one where either he goes home or Danny goes home or Shan goes home or something like that. Although they couldn't go home in that vote, I'm just saying overall he plays that so that all 4 of those people are positioned very well. And so I do feel like Deshawn to me is someone who is definitely deserving of being at least in the top 5. I feel like I was going to put Xander at 4 and Deshawn at 5, but I feel like overall, if you play the season out, I think Deshawn, or I think that Xander goes out either at the merge or in pre-merge like a lot more often. I feel like if you play this out like simulation wise, I feel like Xander takes on that Joe role. I feel like it's the best example of it. Like that role of this golden boy, I feel like Xander starts to just win challenges instead of being an active player like he was, and I feel like that puts Deshawn over him because obviously I really don't respect that type of player. All right, we were top 3, so I feel like these 3 are definitely the best 3 players out of this season. After watching how they play as players, I feel like these 3 are your best players. I think at 3, and I'm pretty confident on this rating. I think at 3, you almost have to put Evie. I feel like for me, Evie is someone who went out because they got split up. I feel like if Evie, although I do feel like Evie goes in the season like 9 times out of 10 close to the merge. But I have to give her credit for how she just absolutely owned her pre-merge tribe. She stuck in the middle while letting her real alliance know that she was not flipping. She was just trying to get intel from them. And she made her alliance okay with that. So now she could have flipped even if she wanted to, and her alliance would not have known until the votes are read. She knew where all of the advantages was. She was the main contributor to the Xander big, move at tribal. I think her ability to win immunity challenges is always a plus there. And I feel like overall, if she's on a different season where her tribe isn't in that middle spot, which I guess on this season was just not good. Usually that's a great spot to be in, but I guess on this season it was not good. But if she's on maybe a different tribe, or if the Yase votes work out differently, I feel like she could have definitely been in that Xander spot to just kind of go through the game in the middle-ish, not completely on the bottom like an Erica or a Heather, but just kind of in the middle, just sticking around, and then come at the end and just win the game. She also wasn't terrible at fire from what we saw on camera, so I feel like overall positives across the board, and that's why I have Evie at number 3. At number 2, I have Shan. So I've always said during the season, I always felt like Shan was the best player on the season. But as we got to the end, and as I saw Ricard's psyche and just how Ricard looks at the game, I felt like really Ricard's comments in the after show where he was like, I generally I had always had in my head that I would win. Like I've envisioned it. Like I just, that's how I play this game. I play only going in thinking I'm going to win the season, period. I feel like that's your winner thinking, and that's why I do have Ricard at 1. I have Shan at 2, below 1 because of that, and then 2 also because of her overly abrasive game. She plays like a Dominic, which is fine, or like a Tony, which is fine. The issue is that while Dominic and Tony were abrasive, they at least listened to their allies, whereas Shan just wanted to have complete control over the entire game, which is not going to work in season 41, maybe in season 1 with Hatch, or season 5 with Heidick, or season 6 with Rob, and even then Rob lost the game. It's like that does not work in 41, 42, and 3 and 4. That's just not what's going to work nowadays, in my personal opinion. And then Ricard at the end, I've already kind of talked about it, but yeah, I feel like overall Ricard is more likable than Shan. I think that Ricard is just as good of a strategical player as Shan is, although I feel like Shan just beat him out there, but then Ricard's a better social player. I think that Shan has more of that golden effect, whereas in Ricard, it's just overall a better, like a bigger threat overall, which, I feel like really the main thing is like they're on the same playing field. Ricard's better, as a strategical player, but I feel like Shan's better socially. I think the difference is Ricard can win those challenges, and that's just a big plus in Ricard's camp. Although I don't really value challenges a whole lot, I'm not like Meridian Review, who just like thinks challenges are absolutely useless. I think it's a big thing in the game. Obviously, Ricard was 1 challenge win away from basically having a guaranteed win, so challenge wins are definitely valid for sure. I think that's why Ricard does sneak ahead of Shan, because that's a very repeatable thing in somebody's game, and so I do feel like I have to give Ricard credit for that. That's it, guys. I just wanted to look over this cast and really talk about how they are as players, not about their game, not about production, not about god-awful 41 season, but just about these players. I feel like this cast was good. I feel like our boot order in this season was pretty flawed, and then obviously production just shat all over the season, so it's kind of hard to value this season. But overall, I think this was definitely necessary. We'll have the Survivor 41. I mean, I'm calling it a rant video, but it's basically, I'm pretty sure I'm going to title it like why Survivor 41 is absolute trash, because it really is absolute garbage fire trash. And that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, you can disagree, but then again, none of this happens without you guys. Without you guys, I'm just a weird guy speaking into a weird microphone. And that's what I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.